through deep consideration of the actual value and profound nature of the reality display, we can feel this process of thinking. We can feel our consideration. The process of conceptual investigation has feelings associated with it that stir within us and come to life as sensations that are extremely vivid. They start in the body and run through the larger complex of the body-mind and ultimately become tremendously grand in scale and outweigh the individual thoughts themselves that got us there. So the display can be thought about, and then the thoughts can be felt. And those feelings can increase in scale until they become monumental and break at the point of subtle impressions that are so delicate and tenuous and refined and large in scale that we could pass entirely out of the range of personal thinking and feeling and immerse ourselves in the investigation beyond the body-mind's point of view. And this is a very difficult leap to make because it involves immersion in the contemplative process past the point of keeping track of your witnessing it. So you leave the witness behind and you immerse yourself in an aspect of the display, which is not exactly a dream, but it's not other than a dream. It's certainly not the personal imagination of the brain. This is the part of your path where if you told an ordinary, conventional, reductionistic thinker that you're investigating an aspect of reality that is not either subjective or objectively true, they would say, no, you're not. You're just having a subjective fantasy. You're living in a dream. You're making it up in your own head. There would be no way to convince such a person that reality could be investigated this way on its own terms, beyond the general and specific markers that it's reduced to them and to others like them. No way to talk to such a person. So don't defend it. Don't argue it. Don't make excuses. You don't owe any explanations. You don't have any obligations to defend a position. The work is inherently intimate and private. It doesn't need to be discussed with anybody or proven or debated. The etheric impressions, once they take over and we have either chosen or been compelled to investigate them, we leave behind the vestiges of ordinariness. And to the extent that we can do this, we don't need them anymore. Doesn't mean your body goes away, doesn't mean your mind goes away, doesn't mean your ordinary sensorium goes away. It's still there. But you've passed through the doorway into an etheric realm, which is like a new body. And this is very different from what 19th and early 20th century occultists would call the body of light or the astral body. It is most certainly not that. Because when people use that type of language, particularly in the theosophical works of Blavatsky and the like, or even in the Golden Dawn, they are reifying this astral body with the same kind of personal identification that they do with the physical body-mind. So they are psychologizing the hell out of this astral body and usually having it move still within this realm of imagination that belongs to the brain. And it's them. What I'm saying here is very different. What I'm saying is identity is literally transferred over to the etheric field. And what happens in that investigation is not you. It's not other than you, but it is definitely not you, because it's this idea that there is a you which is in question. And what do we know about the etheric field? Well, we know that it produces variation. It swirls and it churns and it sputters and it spots and pixelates into rains and fogs and sheets of activity. All of this is produced by the interaction of intervals within an impulse, starts and stops, right? These are the forces of Chesed and Gevurah. So when one passes through Yesod and literally transfers attention over to the etheric field itself and loses oneself with attention, which is not going into a stupor, it's not going into a trance. Attention is still present, but it has transferred from body-mind identification to this subtle investigation of the ethers. And the ethers, in a sense, they take the sense of your attention, and first you feel it, then you adapt it and wear it as a new body, and then forget all about what it was tied to, and the wearing of it becomes a lived-through experience in its own right. And literally, this is the beginning of the process of surrender. And we'll talk in a minute of more detail about this etheric sense body and really specify how it works. But one could say that within this churning, swirling phantasmagoria of the etheric realm, the field itself that displays all the attributes can be apprehended, the tohu and bohu in a naked sense. In other words, you have etheric activity and the field that displays that activity. It's one thing to notice that the activity is taking place. It's another thing to be aware of the open self-illumination of that field that acts that way. This is a huge, huge distinction. And this is exactly where people get lost, that they become so entertained by the experiences of the ethers that they stop looking for their essential nature. All the while, hold on to the highest, all the while hold on to that which is inherently open and self-illuminates in the capacity of awareness, and understand that the goal is to realize Ein Sof, and that is what crystallizes in the heart. The explorations and experiences of the ethers won't crystallize anywhere. They will never crystallize because they're not inherently clear, and they don't have that type of alchemical value. If you go into them the wrong way, you will just simply meander about, get lost there, and ultimately become spit back into the habit field, because unless you become mentally ill, you won't remain. So with the view of the highest in true transfer of attention to the etheric field, what can be glimpsed are these aspects of tohu and bohu that are expressions of Keter,